Hi. In this video, we are going to see how we can create a multi-class text classifier using TensorFlow. We will also see how we can handle imbalanced data set in a neural network models. And what we are going to do is we are going to use some of the Keras parameters to handle the imbalance classes. So let's get started. So for this video, what I'm doing is I'm importing TensorFlow. That's where I'm going to develop my model on. And then I am importing TensorFlow Hub. So in the TensorFlow Hub, I'm going to use a pre-trained embedding layer, but I'm going to train the embedding layer in the model definition phase. So I'm just using it for convenience, right? You can have your own embedding layer or you can create an embedding layer from scratch. I am using NumPy and Pandas to handle the data set, and I have my scikit-learn model selection for splitting the data set. That's what I have. So let me run this, and this is my file. This is the file I'm going to use for this particular model. The file is available in GitHub repo, and it's basically an banking consumer complaints data set. That's what I am using. It's in zip format, so I have set the compression as zip. Other parameters are default. I just added it, but these are the parameters. Now I'm going to read this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Pandas just to read and pass it on to TensorFlow. But if you want, you can directly load it in TensorFlow using the TensorFlow data packages. But in this case, for some visualization and basically easy consumption, I'm using Pandas. So let's see the columns in this particular data frame. If you see this data frame, I have like columns like complaints. This is the consumer complaints narrative is actually text that a consumer types on a CFPB website. Now, to give a background about the data set that I have in GitHub repo is also available in CFPB website. CFPB is Consumer Financial Protection Board. So whenever customers are not happy with the bank or bank are charging the customer and the bank is not listening to customer grievances, they can go to CFPB and file a complaint. The CFPB responsibility to make sure that the bank conducts the practice in a fair manner, right? That's what CFPB is. So you can go there and download the data set. You can download a larger data set that I have, or you can just download a data set that is targeted to your use case and you can use it, right? But here it's in my repo. You can use that as well. I'm going to use the consumer complaints narrative data set as my input column, and the product is basically telling about what this particular complaint is related to. Is it related to credit card? Is it related to debit card? Is it related to collections, investment accounts? So there are multiple categories for product. So let's quickly visualize the data. What I'm doing is I'm setting like pandas.set option display max column with -1. What it does is by default, if you don't set it, the text column that it is going to show is going to be pretty truncated. It's going to show only the initial few characters. When I set the max column -1, it will try to show the entire text that is available. So if you see, basically this text is the consumer complaints narrative column, and basically this debt collection is the product column. I will show this data set as we go into TensorFlow, but these are the two columns that we are going to use for this particular video. Then what I'm going to do is I'm taking the data frame that I created. I am splitting the data frame into 80-20. Now 20% is my test size and 80% is going to be train size. So that's what I'm doing over here. And I'm also going to assign class weights. Before going to class weights, let me run the next cell and come back to this. So the product is my target column, which I told you, right? There are what is the product the customer is talking about or filing a complaints against. So let me print this particular product value counts that will show like what is the distribution of this data. So if you see over here, debt collection and credit card as the major complaints, 21,000 and 13,000. But if you see students loan and vehicle loan as pretty low complaints. So if you see as such the data set distribution, the data set is pretty imbalanced. Now I can feed it to the model as it is, but what is going to happen, the underrepresented classes are not going to be modeled correctly. So in order to overcome that, what I do is I assign some weights to my target labels, and that's why the above command is. So I will show you the output, but what I'm doing is I'm importing class weights from sklearn utils, and I am computing class weights. I'm telling balanced as method. I'm passing my target column as product. It's just going to check the distribution of that, and then going to take the entire data frame, and then it's going to assign weights to it. So let me run this one, sklearn util class weights, and then what I will do is I will visualize the output weights. So wherever the classes are highly represented, it's going to assign a lesser weight. And wherever the classes are represented in a lower number, it's going to assign an higher weight. That's what it's going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the next two lines. I'm going to sort the weights, and then I'm also going to print class weights. So these are the class weights. If you see this class weights over here, what it is going to do is, what it has done is basically 21,000, wherever it is there, it has kind of put a lesser weight on the class, and wherever there is like lower representation, it has put a higher weights. And if you see, like, gradually as the number of target classes decrease over here, you can see the weights are increasing. So this weights is what we are going to assign to our model when we are going to run our model. So now these weights are created. Now the way the Keras model expects the weight to be a dictionary. So it should be a dictionary object telling what is the class label, what is the weight. So in this case, it should say like debt collection is going to be 0.43, vehicle loan is going to be 3.24, student loan is going to be 3.49. So I need to convert this list object to a dictionary object. Now, at the same time, I also need to encode my target to a numerical value, right? The model cannot understand text value. So I need to assign like a numerical value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 classes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this list into a dictionary object. So I'm going to basically initialize a empty dictionary object, that is a weight. And then what I'm doing is I am basically enumerating my class weights over here, and then I am taking the index and the weight. The weight is going to be this 4.43, 0.72 value. Index is just going to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I'm telling in the dictionary, basically the weight object that is there, assign 0, where 0 index with 0.43, 1 index with 0.72, and 2 index with 0.97, and it's going to assign it. Let's print the weight. So it's basically converting the list object to a dictionary object. Now I have not still converted my target into a numerical value. I'm going to go do that in TensorFlow, but I'm going to use the same order which I used here. So now if you see from the list object, it's going to be dictionary object over here, right? So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that particular data set that I have created. Let me run this step. Take the data set that I have created in Pandas. I'm going to convert that into a TensorFlow tensor. So for that, what I'm doing is I am using TensorFlow data set from tensor slices. I am passing a training, basically the consumer complaint narrative as my input X value, and the target value as product. So basically it will get 2 column. As of now, I am not separate as train and target, but the first column will be train and the second will be target. And similarly, I am doing it for the test as well. So now the training frame and test frame is created. What basically I can do is I can quickly create a function that will print my training and the target value. So this what it does, it takes the data set train, it takes the first 5 rows, and then it iterates it, and then it's going to print like, okay, the text column and the target column. It's going to say complaint, what is the complaint value, and target, what is the target value. And similarly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for the test data as well. So if you see over here in this, it has print the complaint value, right? The below complaint was submitted to CFPB. And then finally, if you scroll down, you can also see the target value. But let me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go and convert the target and do numerical. And in this case, if you see over here, let me go to this, fine. It says target is mortgage. Right, so it's printing the text and target, just a handy function to make sure your tensor is converted properly, and you can just see the data. Right now, next what I'm going to do is I need to convert my target column into numerical representation. For that, I am using TensorFlow lookup static hash table. Now, static hash table is nothing but, it's, as the name says, it is nothing but a hash table is a key value pair, and it's static. Right, so it's going to create a key value pair, and in that I'm going telling my debt collection, make it 0, and then basically credit card or prepaid card, make it 1 value, mortgage, make it 2. It is similar to how I created the class weights on the top. Right, so I'm just taking my input value and then converting it to numerical value, and then I'm creating a TensorFlow function where I am basically create called target, and that's basically what I'm doing is table is my hash table function I created on the top. I'm doing a table lookup of X. So when an input comes in, it's when an input tensor comes in, the tensor is the target column. Say if it comes in as debt collection, it's going to go and look up this one. Yeah, for debt collection, it's going to return 0. For credit card, it's going to return 1. Mortgage, it's going to return 2, and so on. So that's what this TF function does. And the advantage of TF function is whatever we give in TF function, that function will form as part of your TensorFlow graph. So you don't have to create a separate function and load it during deployment. So all this TF function is converted into a TensorFlow graph for you. And next, what I'm doing is I'm creating like an show batch function over here. Let me run the next line as well. I'm creating a show batch is just to see the data again, how the data looks like. Here I am taking the data set size which I am going to pass. I am printing my text column, and in the target column what I am doing is the label I am passing target of label. So instead of numerical representation over here, when I call the show batch function, it's going to show the so instead of string representation, it's going to call the target function and then get the lookup value and then print it. So that's what show batch is doing over here. So now this is done. Now I'm going to actually apply this target encoding conversion to my data set, train and test data set, right? So for that, what I'm doing is I'm creating an fetch function over here. The fetch function will take my text value and pass the text, return the text value as it is. It is also going to take my label value. It's going to go call the target to convert my target string representation into numeric and do an one-hot encoding. So this one-hot encoding, what it will do is my target value is between 0 to 5. It's going to just take the target value and create one-hot encoding representation. So 0 will be 1 0 0 0, 1 will be 0 1 0 0 0. So my target is going to be because I'm going to give a categorical cross entropy function, I'm just creating an one-hot encoding one-hot encoded value of the target. And then I am taking my train and test data set. I'm just running the next step. For some reason my Colab is slow today, so I'm making sure I'm executing one step ahead so that while I'm talking it runs. So I'm taking my dataset train. I am calling the map function and then calling this fetch function in that. So my train data and test data over here are going to get converted. Basically, the target column is going to get converted into numerical and one-hot encoded. When this, what the map does, it takes the data set, tensor data set, it applies a map function and calls a function which will do the target conversion. So here, if you see, when I do a next iteration of train data frame, basically the new data frame I created, train underscore data and final and test underscore data final, it's going to print the text value. It's also going to print a tensor, which is a one-hot encoded value of that. So in this case, it's 3. Right, it's just printing a one-hot encoded value, right? Similarly, what I can also do is I can just here I'm printing only one value by default. I have not batched it yet, so I can also batch it. So here I'm telling like a batch to 5 and print my train data and train labels. In this case, it's going to print a batched tensor value, right? In this, on the top there was only one text and one target in that, which is one-hot encoded. Here it's going to create batch of it. So if you see, there's one tensor of text and one tensor of your target value, and it is batched to 5 value because my batch size was 5. So now let's start creating our model. Let me run couple of this step while I talk. So here what I'm doing is I'm creating an embedding layer. For this embedding layer, I am taking a pre-trained embedding from TensorFlow Hub. That's what I'm doing. So this pre-trained embedding is a token-based test embedding trained on Google News. Now, typically when you take a text data, you need to tokenize it, you need to clean it, you need to do a lot of steps. So rather than tokenizing it manually, you can still tokenize it manually and pass it, but rather than tokenizing it manually, I'm going to use this pre-trained layer, which will automatically tokenize it. That's why I'm not done any tokenization over here, right? Then what I'm doing is I'm telling my up.keras layer, I am passing this embedding column and I'm telling that output shape is 128. Right. Basically, this is an 128 dimension embedding layer. That is also, I think, 50 and 20, I think, embedding layer. You can use any of it. I'm using the 128 dimension embedding layer. I'm telling my output shape is 128, and I'm just printing the output data. If you see, like, it's going to take like each and every train data first one and creating a 128 representation embedding layer. That's what this training data will turn. Next, what I'm doing is I'm taking my I'm creating my model. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm creating a Keras sequential model. Let me kind of do one thing. Uh, let me start like a couple of model training, and then I will come back and explain it. So on the top, what I am basically doing is I am creating an Keras sequential layer. So here what I'm doing is I'm just adding that up layer, that is my embedding layer, as the first model in the sequential layer. I am creating an kind of an feed forward neural network here. So I'm telling my units are 128 in the first layer. These are hidden layers. So you can also add manually model.8, 128, model.8, 128, 64, 32. I'm just creating a for loop and adding it, and just a convenience function, so that tomorrow I want to reduce a layer or increase it, I can just remove it here rather than manually adding and removing it. So here I am adding a 128, 128, 64, 32, four hidden layers, right? And I am iterating through it, and I am creating a dropout of 30% in each and every hidden layer I have created. And finally I am adding an layer which is my output layer. I am telling I have six classes, so I am telling it's like kind of the dense value. It has output should be six predicted value, because I am passing a one not encoded value. I'm telling my activation as softmax function. I am printing the summary of the model over here, right? After that, I'm compiling my model. I'm just using Adam optimizer, and then I am basically having the categorical cost entropy and accuracy as my metrics, but it's an imbalanced class. So what we'll do is, even though I have given accuracy, we will evaluate my model by other metrics, right? And after that, what I'm doing is I am creating batching of data. Now when I feed to my neural network, rather than feeding like record by record or all the records, I create batches, right? So that's what I'm doing over here. I'm taking my training data, I'm shuffling it, and I'm batching it to 512 records per batch. And similarly for test data also, I'm batching it. Test data, you need not shuffle it because it's only used for validation, but training data is used for training. So every time it creates a new batch 512, you want it to be random set of records, and that's why you are shuffling it, right? And then I am calling the model.fit method to train the data. I'm passing the train. I'm just training for 4 epochs, but when you are training, you may want to train for higher epochs, right? Just for the sake of video faster completion, I'm doing it. I'm passing my validation data, test data frame, and here I'm passing class weights, and this is the weights we created on the top, right? So the class weights, basically what I'm telling is, by default what it will do is it will use an cross entropy cost function. But when I give a weight, what TensorFlow is going to do is it's going to use a weighted cross entropy function. So it's going to compute a weighted cross entropy function. And what this cost function test does is it evaluates or it validates how good the classifier is doing per label. Rather than across all the label, it's going to do it per label, and that's what this particular weights will do over here. Now there are two ways to assign a weight. You can do a class weight. I'm just doing a class weight for each class, how much weight is. I can also do sample weight. In sample weight, what I'm doing is for each instance I am going to assign a weight, and that's what we did in the last video using an XGBoost model. I assigned a sample weight for each sample. You can watch the XGBoost video on the top. You can click the link on the top and watch it. But here you are going to assign class weights. And then what I'm doing is I am my model is trained now, and this is how the model looks like over here. You can see finally it came to around 88% validation, 88% train accuracy, and the validation accuracy is 87%, which is pretty good. The model is not really overfitting. There will be definitely slight variation, so it's pretty good. You can run for more iteration and see how it works for you. I'm going to quickly check what is my length of the test data set, because when I'm evaluating, I need to batch it. Rather than batching it 512, what I can do is I can pass my entire value of the test data set to evaluate it. So here it's going to kind of print the length of the value, and once it is printed, what I'm going to do is I am calling the model.evaluated. My model is trained. I am taking the model, I am evaluating it and seeing what is the accuracy of my model, right? I am passing my test data. I am mapping the fetch function. The fetch function converts the target value into an one not encoded value, and 11491 is my test data set. I am passing entire this as a batch, and then finally I am printing the results of the model. And once this is done, if you Once this is done, what I am doing is I am basically, if you see this particular model.divide is telling my accuracy is 8739. Now, typically I want to have a different data set for my testing, but here I am using my validation data set as well. But in real world, you want to do three splits for train, test, and validation. Now, then what I am doing is I want to evaluate. I got accuracy, but mine is an imbalanced data set, right? I want to know what is my actual what is my actual precision recall in this case, right? So basically what I am doing is I am in this case I am calling my dataset.map. I am fetching each iteration. I'm getting test data and test label. I am again like batching it. The test data has only like 14,000, 11,491, but I've given larger size. So in this case, I have given higher record, but you can give a lower record. It will take only what is the maximum available. And then I'm calling my model.predict, and it will go the test data, and I'll get a Y predicted value. Right now I have the Y predicted value. My actual Y actual value is already there. I am calling the sklearn metrics classification report, and then I am printing the classification report. I am passing my test label.numpy, right? That is my actual label, and I'm passing my predicted label on the top. I'm using argmax because I'm using an 1 not encoded value, so I need to get the maximum prediction out of the list. So that's why I'm using like argmax over here. Now this is the classification report with the weighted class. Now you can remove the weight and also run it and see how the model performs, but what I've done is I've already run it, and I just printed the classification report on the top bottom, right? This is an just text value that I am keeping it over here. If you see on the top, basically the classes here, or the recall is 84 and 84 for the underrepresented classes, right? And the top classes are 89, 86, and 92. If you see in the bottom, without any weights assigned, it's only 62 and 78. Right. So basically what it has done is, because of the weights, it has modeled the underrepresented class better. But at the same time, if you see the top here, it's 91 and 88, right? If you go on the top, it's 89 and 86. So the top class have been penalized. That's better, right? We don't want the top classes only to be performing better and the underrepresented classes to be not, right? So we want it balanced, and that's what we have done over here in this. I can also print the confusion matrix, and let me kind of print it. And if you see, bottom is nothing but the confusion matrix without the weight assigned. The only thing you have to do in the model is when you call the model.fit, I have given that class weight equal to weights, right? In this case, what you need to do, if you just remove it, then now no weights are assigned to the classes. You can just use that to get this particular confusion matrix without weights. So here, if you see, basically without weights, this is how the confusion matrix looks like. In the bottom two, 325 and 474 is only predicted correctly, right? That's what it is. So after this confusion matrix is learned, let's see how well it does with the weight classes, right? I don't want to run two different models and do it, so I have already done that and stored it. So here, if you see, basically instead of 325, it has predicted 442 correctly. In a confusion matrix, the diagonal is the right prediction, and here, instead of like 511, instead of 474, 511 is predicted correctly. But the top class, and also it has done good in the, if you see the top class 3910, only 3815. So there is some penalization on the classes that are highly represented, but it is also kind of balancing it with predicting the underrepresented class properly. So that's it about in this video. Thank you very much.